Hey guys, how you doing? I hope you had a great week last week, and it's time for another week of music. So, before we get started, a few housekeeping notes I want to talk about. First, check your private messages. If there's something far as login information or assignments that are just for you, I will send you a private message. So make sure you check your private messages first before you send me an email, okay? Second, please make sure you are watching the videos that I'm sending. Watch those videos. I'm going to explain in detail what it is that you're going to be doing, and I'm going to give many examples of how the assignment works and showing you examples of how I get the answer. Please make sure you watch that, okay? And then as well as I'm going to have supplemental videos that you can watch on top of that. So that way, if I'm not explaining it the way that it works for you, you can check this video out and it may click for you. Now, if all of those things don't work for you and you're still having trouble, starting this week, I'm going to be offering what I call office hours. So that way you can talk to me directly and you can get all of your questions answered right then. So I'm going to post on the classroom on Google Classrooms a timesheet where you will sign your name in, put your name, you'll tell me your issue, and then I'm going to give you the choice. You can either I can give you a call, or I can talk to you on Google Hangout, and that way you can see me face to face, and it might be a little bit more personal for you. And then give you about 15 minutes, and I'll be there to help you with any issues you may have with the assignments. Now, if you didn't know, last week assignments, I extended the deadline to this Friday. So you got until this Friday to get them done as well. Okay? Well, with that said, let's get to business. Yeah.
Well, here's the second video for our music class. I hope everybody was able to get through the first assignment. If not, we're going to have a quick chance to go through that just a little bit. But let's see what we're going to do today. Today, we're going to review the concept of intervals, and then I'm going to introduce the concept of scales. These are the two things you need that are so important to produce correct harmonies. So, without further ado, okay, so in the assignment that you guys have, I would ask you guys to identify an interval. So I made this really easy. I only focused on unison, second, thirds, and fifths, which are the main ones that you're going to focus on. We didn't really talk about fourths, sixths, sevenths, or eighths. I did have an octave there, but you didn't have to really worry about those. Okay, so remember, unison are the two same notes. Second, you have a line and a space. It's always going to be line, space, or space, line. They're always going to be right next to each other when you have a second. When you have a third, remember, it's going to be line, line, or it's going to be space, space. Always the same. And remember the little hint I gave you if you looked at the whole video. I always said if it's an even number, they're always going to be different. It's either going to be a line to a space, or it's going to be a space to a line. If it's an odd number, then you're always going to have the same line, line, or space, space. Okay, so that's intervals right here, identifying them. So if you haven't done this, this gives you an opportunity to go back and try again. If not, if you want to try to get a better score, let me know. I can make that happen for you and let you try it again. All right, so for the main course for today, we're going to talk about music scales. First definition, a scale is any set of musical notes ordered by fundamental frequency or pitch. Okay? A scale ordered by increasing pitch is an ascending scale, and a scale ordered by decreasing pitch is a descending scale. Now, what does that mean? Well, music is basically divided up into certain amounts of groups. I always call them clicks, okay? So every note belongs to a click. And what that means is some of the notes are supporting and some of the notes are the leading notes or the tonic, the lead note. Now, every note that we have in Western music has its own scale, okay? The one we're going to focus on is the C major scale because it's usually the easiest to remember and to go through. But today I am going to teach you and show you how you can figure out other scales. So, for those of you who are in my class, you should remember some of these terms. Starting with number one, you got tonic, supertonic, mediant, subdominant, dominant, submediate, leading tone, and then back to tonic because this is also C, just a higher C than this one. Okay? All right, moving on. There are two types of scales that we mostly use. We use major scales and minor scales. Now, let me make this clear. These are not the only two scales. There are tons and tons of different scales. But in the music that you guys listen to and most popular in what we call Western music, these are the two main scales that you will see. Okay? Now, if you get a chance, I put a video that deals with scales in your assignment. They'll talk about the different types of scales, and we'll talk more about that next week. But C major and C minor. Now, if you ever get a chance to listen to them, major is always going to have more of a happier tone, where minor is going to have more of a sad tone. Okay, so we will talk about today how do we figure out a major scale. Okay, scales are constructed using two types of intervals, minor second and a major second, also called a half step and a whole step. This is the pattern. Now, this pattern never, ever, ever, ever changes for a major scale. So I have a little piano down here, okay? So you can kind of visualize it. When we are talking about a whole step is when we skip a note and go to the next one. You skip a note and you go to the next one. Now, a half step is you don't skip a note, you just go to the immediate next one. So from here to there. Okay? So if we're looking up here, or if you're looking down here, excuse me, you can see the pattern of how they do it. Okay? So from the first note to the second note, whole step. Second to third, whole step. Third to fourth is a half step. 4 to 5 is a whole step. 5 to 6 is a whole step. 6 to 7 is a whole step. And from 7 back to 8 or 1 is a half step. Okay. Now, when I say skip over a note, for those of you who have a piano, these black keys are notes. Okay, these are notes. So just because the white keys are right next to each other, you still have to identify the black key. Okay, so when you go from C to D, you are skipping this black note. Where you're going from D to E, you are skipping this black note, making these whole steps. When you're going from E to F, there isn't a black note here. So they're right next to each other, which makes this a half step. Okay. So we're going to move on to show you again, C major scale. You've seen it before. Okay. So whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Okay. Now moving on to the next one. Now, this is a G major scale, okay? And the reason I want to start with a G major scale is because, see, now not every scale that you're going to see, in fact, C is the only major scale which has all white keys. Every other scale that we're going to see is going to involve the black keys. So I thought I'd start us off with G major, which only involves one, and F major, which only involves one black key. So let's do it again. We go from G to A, which is whole step because we're skipping that black note. A to B, we're skipping that black note, so that's a whole step. B to C, half step, no key here, so they're right next to each other. C to D, whole step, skipping that. D to E, whole step, skipping that. Now, here's where it gets a little funny. E to F does not, I repeat, does not have a black key in between them. But because this is going from 6 to 7, a whole step is required to make it a major scale. So I have to skip this F and go to this black key where this hashtag sign is, which we call a sharp. So I'll go from E to F sharp, which is 6 to 7, and then from 7 to 8, F sharp to G. Because see, the black key is right next to the G. That's your G major scale, okay? And then F major scale, okay? So same thing. F to G, whole step, G to A, whole step. Now remember, A, the third to fourth, remember that has to be a half step. So this is not next to this. We have to go to this black key, which is B flat. So we go from A to B flat, and then we have to skip this B because we have to have a whole step. B flat to C, C to D, whole step, D to E, whole step, and E to F, half step. Because remember, there's not a black key here. Okay, so that's part of what you're going to be doing for this next exercise that I'm going to show you right at this moment. Okay, we're back to assignments, and check this out. So we're going to go to assignments. Now, I am going to change the due dates for all of these. You should be able to get these done by this upcoming Friday, the 10th. So if you haven't done interval building or interval identification, I stress that you do. But we're going to go to scale building. Okay, so we're going to hit do now. Okay, and it tells you everything that you're going to see, how you're going to do it, gives you the instructions. And then what I've always done, I'm going to do this for all of my videos. I am going to put a video, a YouTube video here for you that will also explain what I just went over. So you can watch this before you actually start your actual assignment. These are the only scales we're doing, the ones we've just talked about, and we're only going to focus on majors. So everything's there. So you hit start quiz. So here we go. We start with the first note, which is C. So we just go up the scale. So all you do is you move up. You see the spot there. You put it there. And then what's next? You just go right up the scale. Right up the scale. Okay? So we're going to go see. I want to see if I can move on. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of mess up because I don't want to give answers away. But let's say we were doing F major. Okay. So if I was doing F major, I would go F, G, A. And then when I need to get to my B flat, I would click the flat sign right here. And then I would put it right there. Now it's going to say, sorry, try again, because that's not right for C major. But that's what you would do. You would put it right there, and then you would finish on with the rest of your scale. Okay? That is how you do it. You just take the note and you place it on the correct part on the staff, either on the correct line or the correct space. Okay? All right, last thing I'm going to talk about is this idea of office hours. So if you have some questions about the assignments, technical issues, questions about how to get things done, this is what you can do. Now, I'm going to stress this again. I highly recommend that you use all of the resources that you have first before signing up. Okay, this is to sign up if I've done everything Mr. Stokes has asked me to do and I still don't get it. Then yes, go ahead, sign up. I am going to ask you, have you watched the video? Have you watched the second video? Have you gone over it a few times? I'm going to ask you these questions. If your answer is no to any of them, I'm going to tell you, go do that and then sign up again. But with that said, if you've gone through all of that and you need some help, this is what I want you to do. You're going to come in here. I'm going to put the link down in the classroom on the stream where, you know, everything is listed with my videos. So this will be listed there too. You put your name in the slot that works best for you. Okay, they're listed out by days. So I put Mr. Stokes. And then next to it, you're gonna say, put just a little line through it and just say, need help with scales. Okay. So you put that there, and then you're going to tell me. Now, this is the interesting thing. You're going to tell me if you want a phone call, phone conversation, or if you want to do Google Hangout. So if I said I want to do Hangout, and then that's all you need to do, okay? And then I see that, and then at that time, that will be our 15 minutes to help you through whatever you need to get done, okay? So that's the end of this. Please, if you have any questions, you can still use email. If you got a simple, real quick question, you can always shoot me an email. But if you have some real in-depth questions that you need some more discussion time with, here it is for you, okay? Awesome.